And so I wanted to, I guess, find out when you're, I guess, assigning chanting to someone, when is it just the chanting for conscious mind? And when do we move from conscious mind to unconscious mind in using chanting or using the mantras?
Right. Like, so the question is basically like, why is it there in both? What's the difference?
What's the difference?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, the difference, I mean, the simple answer is the difference is depth. So, if you've done a lot of chanting, you've experienced this where it moves from conscious mind balancing into a much deeper place. But that usually takes a while.
Yes.
And then one other distinction would be the way you do it. So you can, chant out loud or sort of like, fly around your mala with repetition. And that tends to be, if we were going to judge it, which I don't really, this isn't the way I think about it, but it'll just illuminate the point. Like, you could probably just say, Om Namah Shivaya, fairly distracted 108 times and get a lot of conscious mind balancing. Do you see what I mean? It'll shift the way your brain works. It'll feed it, even if you're not really that connected to it. Not that that's ideal. But when you start to really get into japa and you feel the chant and its effects internally while you're doing it, and your focus is kind of a little more attenuated than that, it starts to affect the Vijnanamaya kosha more. So they're totally overlapping. But don't take that wrong. I don't mean to say that like chanting, for instance, is like some sort of kind of lame practice. Do you know what I mean? It's just one really feeds the mind on a sort of conscious energetic level. And if you do it long enough or with sort of proper relaxed attention, it'll start to shift. And most importantly, with the Vijnanamaya kosha, it'll start to unroot knots in your unconscious mind. So it'll start to bring things to the surface. I mean, a lot of the practices, when it goes towards koshas, is really intention. So, how are you kind of working with the person? On what level do you want their intention to sit? Are you trying to get them to go super kind of deeper into basically their subconscious, right? Or are you trying to get them to feed their conscious? And so that intention is a very important distinction in terms of outcome. So that's another way, you can think about it, especially as you're languaging to them, why you would like them to do this practice and in what way you would like them to do this practice. So if you take, those of you that aren't, big chanters, if you go to like a Krishna Das kirtan or whatever, and you see 500 people and they're all chanting the same thing, I mean, they're basically doing that for the conscious mind. Like, everybody walks out in a really good mood and their conscious mind is fed with these vibrations that remind the conscious mind that they're part of something bigger. And you see the effect, which is actually joy. Because that realization is always pleasant. That's different than unearthing unconscious patterns into the conscious mind. That's not always pleasant. So you'll see very different effects depending on your intention also. And then occasionally, like at a kirtan or something, at anything, in a yoga class, and in places where most people are having this sort of pleasant experience, there'll be, one or two people having a very intense experience, and that's often unearthing of the Vijnanamaya kosha. Like, maybe they didn't even know they were going to do that. So, as a teacher or someone holding the space, like, it's always important to set like intentions